Welcome to Worlds Collide, the wrestling card podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans, featuring Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com.
This is like a stock market.
And Zhan Morning from Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, I'm just posing the question. Join them as they navigate the world of wrestling cards, helping you build a bigger and better collection and making some money along the way. Back again with Worlds Collide, worlds colliding on a round table. 4 different worlds colliding. Tony, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How about you, man?
I'm great. I'm actually super excited for our guests today and our topics because I'll preface this by saying we're going to overlap a little bit with our topics because they're all kind of tied together. So forgive us if we backtrack or if we skip ahead or something like that. But first time guest here, Brett McGrath. Everybody knows him. StackingSlabs Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen. Big fan of the show. Any excuse I can have to get away from the HBO Max that's streaming on downstairs that my wife is in control of to talk about wrestling cards, I'm always game for.
And I'm really glad we got you today, fresh off All Out and the GCW show over the weekend, just mayhem. So that's gonna be involved with what we're talking about today. So I'll save that for a minute. Next guest, you guys know him. We gave him an intro with some clapping going on. Chuckster. Here we go.
As I say, the man, the myth, the legend, the slam dancer.
and we won't go into the slam dancing.
I want to know about this. All right, so we're going to kick it off with Brett's topic first. You guys know the drill on these. We each have a topic. Like I said, they're going to overlap a little bit. But Brett, kick us off, fresh off this AEW weekend.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm almost at a loss for words, and I hate so much of the hobby is about hyping things up all the time, and it's hard. I try to stay moderate when it comes to cards, when it comes to shows, but I just gotta put this last weekend on the hype train for me personally. Just being a wrestling fan my entire life, baby on the way for me. So this was kind of my last dance. We were in Chicago, so I'll coin it that. Did Dynamite on Wednesday, did Rampage on Friday, did GCW show Art of War on Saturday, and then All Out on Sunday. So it was a full slate, and it was a continual build the entire weekend of just excitement, where on Sunday after, Moxley came, pinned Cardona, came, won the title, challenged Nick Gage. I looked at my friend in the morning. I was like, can All Out live up to the hype? And I think anyone watching knew it delivered and delivered in a big way. So I'm still reeling a little bit. The crowd was so invested. It really it went by so quick, and obviously a master class of booking, storytelling, and then just the culmination of here's Adam Cole, baby. No, here's Bryan Danielson, and the faces of people walking out of the building that night. Everyone that people just people weren't even cheering. Everyone was just shocked at a show living up to the hype and delivering. So I'm coming down off of that still. I'm consuming content. I can't get enough, but ultimately for me, it's well, how does this translate into wrestling cards? So excited to talk about cards tonight.
I'm just flabbergasted by listening to you.
Yeah.
I mean, because I watched all that stuff as it was happening. I'm and I even tweeted a picture seeing you in the crowd at the GCW show. I'm hey, there's Brett. So what were you hearing from anybody around you? Was anybody talking wrestling cards, be it in between the shows, after the shows, anything you're seeing with that end?
Yeah, so I went to the Fan Fest on Saturday during the day, and they had, meet and greets, and they had, some video game news and, just some interactions. It was probably the most underwhelming thing of this weekend because I was really looking for some upper deck representation, some sort of card news, and didn't really see any. I did have conversations just, waiting in concession stand lines with people regarding cards, but nothing to report on, nothing major.
All right. So your topic today, you wanted to just talk about, since we're talking about that, opportunities with just modern wrestling cards. I think me and you are kind of on the same page on that, but I think a lot of people are still stuck in vintage, even if they're fans of the modern. So I'll just give you the floor on that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think when I got back into wrestling cards, it just seemed like everyone was talking about the same cards. And I don't want to disparage the all-stars. It's the GOAT set. No doubt. It's got the history. You guys talked about it on the pod 100 times. I've talked about them, but it just was boring to me because everyone was talking about the same cards. And I think the fun part about wrestling cards is just the opportunity to be unique, the opportunity to show stuff that no one else is showing, and to get into different rabbit holes. So I think just for me, over the last, several months, I've seen the hobby, or this segment of the hobby that we like to participate in, I think maybe maturing a little bit, like go outside the zone, like talk about cards that people are passionate about, people love, that not necessarily their neighbor is talking about, which I think is great. And I think the more of that can happen, it'll lead to more interest and more growth for wrestling cards. So I've been really encouraged by the modern interest recently. And I think, stuff like AEW Upper Deck license, AEW is scorching hot, like flaming hot after this last weekend. So I think there'll be a lot of interest with the AEW cards. And just like, I was trying to think about all the sales that have happened on the modern side recently, that it just kind of is shocking in a way, not shocking, but kind of shocking. You've got the Rock Comic Images cards, PSA 9 sold for $7K, a PSA 7 sold for $4,500. You've got his Refractor 2014 Topps Chrome Golds, BGS 9 selling for $1,200. The Cena Royal Rumble card, $2K. You've got Undertaker's card selling for almost $2,000 in a PSA 9.
What about some other guys? Like, are you seeing anything in the market like a Roman Reigns card, or that's more modern? You're still talking about some legendary people still, even though it's legendary people in modern product. What about modern guys in modern product?
Way to put me back on the rails there, Tony. I think that's where I think the opportunity is. I think the opportunity is, if you like Roman Reigns, if you're invested in Roman Reigns and this character, like you can still go buy a Topps Finest from 2020 gold refractor for under $100.
That's incredible.
Like there are those types of opportunities, and that's what I like to do. Like I like Roman. I've always liked Roman, so I try to use him as
an example. I was just using him as an example.
It's a good example.
I mean, anybody.
It's a good example. But so there's that, and now like Punk, right? There's a resurgence with some Punk cards.
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson. So I don't know. It's encouraging for me, and like my litmus test is just Twitter and Instagram. And it seems like a lot of accounts aren't scared to show cards that maybe came out last year. And the theme is serial numbered, rare, and people are picking up on that, which that happens in other segments of the hobby. So I think that's really encouraging.
I'll jump in and give my 2 cents on it, and then I'll turn it over to Chuckster. You were talking about legends like Undertaker, Cena, The Rock in modern sets. What's cool about wrestling is that stuff is valuable, as opposed to sports cards, where a lot of the GOATs and Hall of Famers, if they're released in modern sets, they're actually not that valuable. So it's interesting dynamic there. And then as far as like the Roman Reigns stuff, one thing, and Tony used him as an example, the stuff that you can buy with modern, even like the most expensive stuff, is still so cheap compared to not only sports cards, but other non-sports cards I've seen, whether it's TCG or just entertainment cards. There's a lot of expensive stuff out there. And like I bought a gold, it wasn't a refractor, but it was a gold out of 10 Roman Reigns auto from like 2015 or 2016, and I think I paid like $40 for it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, why is this so cheap? And
That's
it's
a
exactly
steal.
it's exactly what Brett's talking about.
And
like
I'm not
people,
even a mark for the guy. I just think that he's kind of the face of that company right now in a sense. And they really pushed him. And it's just, he's so undervalued. I don't know if that's because it's just people don't care, or he's just hasn't established himself. What else does the guy got to do?
I think it's because he has so much product out there. He's in every set that's released. He's everywhere.
So is Cena.
That's true.
Yeah, he was. But Cena's fading out now, and Cena's kind of going on to a movie career, and he's not on TV as much as he was. I mean, Roman's just everywhere. And I think that's why people are just getting, they see him. They see enough of him,
Well, stuff like that. You know what, Zhan? I want my Charlotte's back. I want my Charlotte Flairs back.
No, that's somebody I've been buying from from day one. So I haven't sold any Charlotte Flairs that I bought, whether it's just basic raw stuff or graded, higher end stuff.
Well, if I can get over the whole Nazi appeal of Dexter Loomis, maybe I'll go into him.
We'll get into a little bit of that later. Chuckster, what do you got to say about Brett's topic?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm just really envious that you were there at that All Out show, because it lived up to the hype. I think it surpassed the hype. The trading card hype for that AEW product has just been off the wall. And when they had hyped a few pay-per-views back with they did the Exploding Deathmatch pay-per-view, and they had Christians, they hyped his entrance, and while they were good, they didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah,
this show lived up to the hype, and just the fact you were there, I tell you, I'm just envious of that. I mean, I sat glued to that TV. It was just there wasn't anything wrong with any match. It was just amazing. A couple of things I wanted to talk about on my topic too was, and it's going to tie into the AEW product. The past year or so, I've kind of gotten into the indie card sets. I've been kind of known for that now. Tops are just getting very repetitive and boring, and I wanted something new, and I wanted to be a completist again. So I started buying all these indie sets. And surprisingly enough, a lot of the top stars in AEW now are in those indie sets. And so if we're going to talk about cards at all, I think there's three particular organizations that, even though there's a ton of indie stuff out there, the three organizations that really need to be spotlighted is the PWG, or a lot of people call the BOLA sets, the Jim Lynam Memorial sets, and the GCW. They are game changing, a little pun intended.
Nope, pun intended.
Wrestling, game changer wrestling. And these cards are game changing. They have so many of the AEW stars in now. I mean, they have, Tommy End is in a lot of them. He's now Malachi Black, who I think they're just doing a tremendous job with right now. They have, there's Jungle Boy, there's Marco Stunt, there's Nick Gage is in these things. And I'm really tickled that AEW has picked up on Nick Gage, even though his matches are a little hardcore. And there's actually a couple of other hardcore wrestlers that I think have kind of a cult following that I think are just going to touch Nick Gage's radar. That would be like G Raver.
I was going to say, name some names.
Yeah, G Raver is one. Jimmy Lloyd is another. Those two guys put on a true death match. And I think they're eventually going to reach.
Well, they're still alive, so they can't be true.
That's what I was getting at.
They are. Yeah, they are.
Well, G Raver's barely alive, and I can't believe he tried. I can't believe he tried that same spot that almost killed him last time. And successfully they got it done this weekend.
But here's what I think from a value standpoint when it comes to trading cards. I think these guys, I'm sorry, in my opinion, flavor of the month. It's just a flavor of the month. I don't think these guys are going to be long-term value guys. I don't think these guys are going to be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 cards down the road. I just don't see that happening.
Maybe from the set perspective, though.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be around long because of the nature of their matches. I mean, they're just so violent.
Oh, come on. I mean, Nick Gage's been around for 20 years, 21 years now.
Yeah, but he spent a lot of time in prison, you know. He was, so you know he's got it under his belt. You know he can handle it. But you know he did all his stuff in Japan too. But I don't think he was quite as brutal in Japan back around 2000. He's just
surprising.
Yeah,
usually it's the other way around.
Here's a little comparison based on what Chuckster is saying here, where you've got the PWG sets in your stars, the first appearances of stars that are now in AEW, and then I'm thinking about the potential from the FCW set with Roman, Moxley, or Dean Ambrose, the whole crew, Page, everyone, and then stars in WWE. So I think it'd be interesting to see if you can draw parallels between maybe the FCW set and what they have done, and then look at the rocket ship that's happening with AEW and do those PWG cards get some of that gas?
I think they do, because those have actually gone up in value quicker than when the FCW ones did. I mean, it's taken a shorter amount of time for those cards to hit peak value as it is right now, as opposed to how long it took FCW to hit peak value.
Something else interesting that could raise the value and kind of going, Tony, you said the individual cards of the specific talent might not go up. But what I'm seeing is a lot of the people who are chasing these cards want the complete set. They want it in the box and they don't want it graded. So I'm wondering if keeping them complete set in the box may be where the value is on some of these, because some of them they're such huge fans, which I actually have a tweet that I screenshotted that I'll present to you guys later. They're such a big fan of a specific company or specific group of talent that's in an organization that they just want all of them in one batch, which kind of goes back to old school sports card collecting, where you want all the base cards of a team, or you want the complete set of Topps baseball from whatever year. So it's an interesting dynamic from my perspective.
And most of these game changer sets I'm seeing, in the least amount I'm seeing on them is $100 for the set. They've gone up. The AEW set, or not the AEW set, the All Out set that was put out, for All In set that was put out a few years ago when they did their
$3 bills or more.
It's $300 a set, easy, with no question. You know, still in the box. So there's some value going to be made to these GCW cards too. I really see it.
I agree with you though on Zhan. I think that these factory sealed sets are going to be where the real value is going to be at.
Yeah.
As opposed
and
to,
you know, another cool thing about this too, you know, me and Brett were talking about getting in modern opportunities cheap. Chuckster, you can go out and order these sets right when they come out for very affordable prices. Chances are, even if you're battling against bots or problems with your internet, no matter what, there's still a pretty good chance you're going to get those, as opposed to finding retail Topps WWE.
And some of those are even on demand. So it's like,
Zhan, where the value, I think, you know, is for some collectors are in the sealed boxes, sets. I'd love to know, like, your thoughts. I know you spent a lot of time on the graded front too. Like, do you foresee, like, let's take the all in set, for instance. Do you foresee more long-term value in a sealed set of that, or great individual graded cards of, you know, in let's say PSA 9, because I haven't seen anything higher than that, PSA 9 cards of those guys and gals? I'll
go ahead and perfect segue. Although normally, Tony, you're the king of the segues, so I don't know what we're doing here.
I preset it up.
Okay, I'll read this tweet.
It's like in hockey, I get the assist to the assist.
The assist, I like it. Okay, the tweet I put out was a reply to somebody that tweeted out, the amount of AEW shirts I'm going to buy tomorrow, this was after All Out, is going to be sickening. So they're saying right there they're going to buy a ton. So I replied with, this is what makes me think about modern wrestling cards are next, and why are people not spending that money on wrestling cards? I actually got a reply from him, and he said, because I only want AEW branded. And there's none of that out there, even though there are, you know, what Chuckster is saying about the pre-stars, their rookie cards or whatever you want to call it. So I think there's a new segment of people coming in that want that because they're fans, you know, they want the merchandise as a part of it. Then there's a whole other set of people who are just like a fan of MJF or Britt Baker or Roman Reigns or whoever, and they just want the single card graded. So if you have these sets and you're sitting on them, it's really tough. Like, I think I'm going to value other cards personally outside of the all-in set more valuable than anything in the set. So I actually just sold. I've got 3 sets left that are, you know, sealed. They weren't actually sealed, but I've never opened them. I sold one recently, and I'm just putting that money, I'm saving it and buying singles that I particularly want that are already graded, that are higher end, like a Hogan or a Rock, or I actually just got a BGS 9 Cena not too long ago. So that's just me though. I'm not in the crowd that we're talking about. I think people, especially Tony, we'll get into your topic. It's going to tie into this as well. We talked about all this tying in together, but I think there's a small news segment of wrestling card fans that they're going to want the box. They're going to open it, and they're going to want to go through the cards and then put them in the box. Somebody, I can't remember who it was, on Twitter recently had a really nice display, and it was all of the independent card sets in their boxes. Nice. Yeah, it looked super cool. So. Mm-hmm.
So they got it at Walmart or something like that.
Too, with them breaking open the individual boxes, they're not making that many sets of these indie cards as it is, 200 to 300 sets tops. Somebody buys them, breaks them open, sells them individually. That's going to lower the amount of full sets that's out there. Mm-hmm. The full sets that's out there still together, that's going to shoot them up in value if people want to buy the whole set. Right. Because who's going to pay $20, $30 per card to put together a whole 36 card set? You know,
you say that, but look at the 82, 83 All-Stars.
Yeah,
people are doing that now. So I mean, I can see it going both ways. And personally, like if there was a talent, like I love Britt Baker's my favorite in that whole set. MJF's a close second, mm-hmm. but I don't love either of them enough to break up the set personally. But if I did, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Mm-hmm. So that's just my take. Mm-hmm. Tony?
Yeah,
Brett, go ahead.
Yeah. I just want, like, a theme that I'm picking up on just from some of this is just, we talked wrestling up front, and it just seems so long, forever. It was just WWE, right? And then AEW came on the scene and just slowly but surely have been grabbing fans, converting fans. And I think about, like, the last time we were in a position like this, and it was, Monday Night Wars time. Mm-hmm. However, like, cards were there, but cards weren't really a thing as they are now. So I'm curious, based on AEW continuing to gain traction, and you'd hope that Vince and team do something at some capacity to not stay status quo. Maybe they'll stay status quo, but to respond and to, like, turn it up a notch. I'm curious, that competition, they always say it's good for wrestling. It makes for a better wrestling product. I'm curious if the competition on the wrestling product will lead to more interest with wrestling cards.
Another interesting thing about that none of us have touched about is the whole Fanatics deal. Topps, like, WWE is going to be potentially one of the last licenses that Topps has, since they're losing all the other big sports franchises. So does that mean that someone else comes in? Does Panini come in and then buy, the rights to make WWE? Because I know WWE Prism would be fantastic. That would be great. But does WWE take their own cards under their own banner and start producing their own stuff? Like, we've seen them do their own NFTs. Brett, that's a great point. Tony, Chuckster, what do you guys think about that perspective?
Hey, Vince, just so you know, I produce my own cards. So if you guys want anybody to make your cards for you, I'm happy to take over that license for you.
Hey, well, I've heard so many rumors that Panini's going to take over the WWE. I don't know. I mean, again, it's just a rumor. It's still a few years down the road. I don't see Topps, or I don't see WWE taking over their Topps license, because how would they promote it? They don't promote anything. They don't promote their action figures anymore.
That's a good point.
And that's a good key point, Chuckster. It's a good key point right there, because AEW's done more in the last 2 weeks to talk about their products and their trading cards on live freaking TV than WWE's ever done, ever.
Yeah. Even Impact promoted their Series 1, that little set of 10, 12 cards, 10, 11 cards they put out. They promoted them on a little commercial on their Impact show. And I mean, that's not even seen in a lot of places. That's
but I don't get channel 56 of Telemundo out here, so I'm sorry I didn't see that.
Yeah, and
Impact is even
and
promoted.
They sold out.
You don't see WWE doing that.
Yeah, you just don't. I mean, I'm curious to see if once the AEW product comes out, will they have any at merch stands at live? That would be great, I think, because they've never done that before either at a WWE event.
I still wonder if some people even realize wrestling cards exist.
Some don't.
Yeah.
I've done that series already. People who don't even collect wrestling cards, and the guy owns a store. He owns a wrestling themed store and didn't realize until he opened a store that wrestling cards existed.
Another good question.
AEW is breaking down barriers. They're doing things that nobody's done before. And I just think that's great. I mean, try it, throw it on the wall. If it sticks, great. If it doesn't, try something else, but at least they're trying and they're promoting their product. And I mean, even the things they're doing with their e-packs now, which I wasn't familiar with. I had to really figure out how to do that when that Punk card came out, but I ordered some e-packs of Punk just to, so, I mean, they're trying to get their product out in front of everybody as best they can. And I see them doing that at their merchandise tables. I do. I think that would be a smart move on their part.
Anybody else buy any e-packs from the Punk card? I'm assuming everybody here did.
I actually did not, but I'm not the biggest Punk fan. So
I'll slap you for an investment purposes, dude. From an investment side purpose, it's a great card.
It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to do that when you're buying people's collections out, Tony.
You know, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan either. I'm not a fan either. But I figure from an investment standpoint, why not?
Oh no, I 100% agree. It's just sometimes when you're planning to spend money on something and you have two collections pop up, I'm just like, I better go with that.
Come on, Brett. I bet you bought at least 5.
I am a Punk apologist over here, and I saw it, and it did absolutely nothing for me.
That's interesting.
I'm a physical, like.
Yeah, but it will be a physical. You have the option of getting it physically as well.
Right. That's it's just not for me. Not
they're already selling for $25 online, I heard.
You think it's too much friction for you to actually get the card in your hand?
Yeah. It's not. It's just I understand I understand what it can do for wrestling cards, and I understand its purpose and what they were doing. It's just I just didn't have any interest in it. It just wasn't. I'm more of a if I have the option, I want it pack pulled. That's my preference always. But yeah, I'm gonna wait it out and save my money for a Punk card that I really want when it hits.
If I'm going to be a completist, I got to have that Punk card. I mean, granted, I'm not going to be able to put together the parallels, but to put together that full base and insert set, that Punk card's got to be a part of it. Just the same way back with the old WCW 95 set, they had their promo cards. To me, my set wasn't complete till I had those promo cards. To me, the Punk card is kind of a promo card in one sense of the word.
I have zero interest in collecting the set itself other than for informational purposes, but I bought 3 just to have it for an investment purpose. I think it's gonna at the very least I lose $6.
No, you're not gonna lose anything. I mean, It makes total sense. I just didn't when it came out. I was kind of like Brett because like I'm not a fan actually. Like I don't dislike him, but I'm not like a huge Punk guy. And I was like, man, should I buy this? But again, like I was spending money on collections and all this other stuff. But we're dancing around the topic here. Tony, we've talked enough about AEW. Let's dive into the actual release.
What's there to dive into, man? We don't know anything else about it except what we've seen all this,
No. I mean, your specific topic on how much all 4 of us are going to dive into bank accounts.
Yeah. So are you guys like? I got a case. I was able to secure a $16 case. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hanging up on someone. I'm not going to say who it is.
It's Vince. He's calling you about those cards. He heard you.
How could he hear us? I got a case only because, and I think you and I are going to be splitting that case, I think,
yes.
Right?
Yep.
So I'm going to keep 1 box just to keep a box for, see how it goes in 5 years or so, like that. But I'm curious to know if people are going to be buying heavy. Are they just waiting to see what happens? Are they looking at, to hold it long term? And on top of that, as you know, we've had some unofficial AEW sets that have come out over the years. And I know there's going to be either an After Dark segment you and I are going to do at some point, Zhan, but I am like chomping at the bits to talk about this, that topic. These bootleg type sets and these unofficial sets, how is it going to affect those card sets? Because those card sets seem to be going, when you can find them online, they do command a premium price for some of these bootleg card sets. Are they going to hurt it? Are they going to help it? I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen a hype like this. Me as a card collector and a wrestling card collector since the 80s, I have not seen a card release this kind of hype at all, ever.
Yeah.
I've never.
Yeah, and it's even spilling over into like mainstream sports card news feeds and whatnot. So to get it in that, and then national TV advertisement, like you said earlier with the Punk thing, like that's huge.
You just don't see that with any other release from any other company over the years ever. I mean, Impact, I give you that, it's a little tiny thing, but on a major network like that, to see a little, advertisement in the lower left-hand corner, it just seems surreal to me. Just like, really, I'm kind of getting a little bit of a Woody here because you're putting cards on TV. That's freaking awesome, man. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, you can't ask for something more than that. It's so nice to see a company back up their products across the board. And I mean, what does it mean? What does it mean for others? I mean, what does it mean for you guys? Like, are you excited about it? Are you like super jazzed? Are you going to be pumped like you were this weekend, Brett, to get some of your hands on these cards?
Yeah. So I think it's a great thing for wrestling cards. The fact that it's seen placement on their television that's getting 1 million people. It's fantastic for wrestling cards in general. Personally, obviously I'm invested in AEW. I just spent a lot of money to be out there for several days away from my job, my wife, everything, because I needed to be there. I felt compelled. So I've been a hook, line, and sinker AEW day one fanboy, and they've got me as bad as I've been got since Heatwave 98 ECW. So I think for me, obviously, being a wrestling card guy, I want to be involved with these cards. But as we were approaching, I'm showing a little bit of restraint because of the hype you just talked about. Hype is going to go into these prices of cases, the prices of boxes, the prices of these cards, packs, you name it. And so while I do really, really want to buy hobby boxes and I want to sit down and I want to rip them, for me, I ask myself, Brett, what's the responsible thing to do? I think the responsible thing for me, and this isn't for everyone, but for me, is to hang tight, look at eBay listings, and wait. Just wait for that 5 out of 5 Hangman auto to hit. And instead of buying the hobby box, spend my money on a Hangman, spend my money on a Britt Baker, which will be the equivalent of the hobby box. And if I would have opened a hobby box, those are the cards I would be happy with. So I'm not saying I'm not going to buy a hobby box or two, but for me, right out of the gates, I'm going to stay away from the fire, and just people are going to buy a bunch of boxes and people are going to be wanting to recoup and sell some stuff off. I'm going to be sitting on the other side waiting for those cards to hit.
Smart.
Chuckster, how are you approaching this as a set collector and completist?
I bought 5 boxes. I would have bought more, but the price was just outrageous. I think the hype has driven the price already. I mean, they started out at 99, then they went up to 130. I've seen some sites already selling them at 160. I was happy with my 5. Normally, when I buy a set anymore, since I've kind of gotten away from my full box breaks, I usually just wait till a full set comes on eBay, like Brett said he was going to do, and pick them up, especially with the new top stuff. That's what I do. But I just wanted to be in on the excitement of this AEW because like Tony said, I have never seen the excitement and the hype around this. And I'm just really anxious to crack open a pack and rip some packs, I probably won't do it with future releases. I'll probably just wait, but I just wanted to be in on the inaugural set and crack this stuff open and see what I can find. Unlike Tony, I would have liked to have more boxes. I didn't want to buy one case from one dealer. I wanted to buy a couple boxes from this dealer, a couple boxes from that dealer, a couple boxes from this, just to kind of get a little.
Hey, we all play the craps tables different ways, man.
That's the way I do it. And unfortunately, I have no way of telling the company what I really want, but my local dealer knows this, and Tony laughs at me about this. Whenever I open a case, I always pull boxes from the left side of the case. I want all my,
That's awesome.
And I wish I could reach out to those companies and say, when you send me my boxes, pull from the left side of the case.
And I only play the craps table. I only play the craps table when there's an Asian guy at the table. So we all have our perks, little quirks, man.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm looking for a couple of autographs. I hope I get one or two anyway. But actually, one of the things that I'm going to get 4 of per box, if the odds are right, is the canvas cards. And I really look forward to those canvas cards. A lot of people say, oh, they're just kind of regular stuff, but to me, they're not. I think they're pretty cool. I've got a couple canvas cards from other collections, and I really like those. So I'm looking forward to the fact that I'm going to get supposedly 4 of those per box. So I should end up with like 20 canvas. That's pretty sweet to me.
I think canvas cards are completely underrated. And you think about in regular sports cards, there's this whole debate right now with player worn or game worn or not even worn at all. Like, to have a piece of the mat from it, and especially when they call out the event that was in, I've talked about this, but that's why I had to get the Bailey fully loaded 2015 card, because it was the most, in my opinion, most significant female match of all time with Sasha Banks. So I'm with you on that one, Chuckster. Like, I think canvas cards are super cool because they parallel that game worn experience on other sports cards.
Exactly.
Just to kind of go a little bit off
shirt cards and worn cards, because I could go out to a store and pull up a black T-shirt off the rack and cut it up and stick it in the card. How do I know that person wore that card?
Chuckster, if you wore it, I'd buy it. If it says worn by Chuckster on the card.
Let's have a Chuckster worn. Yeah, Chuckster worn card slab. Just because they're talking about canvas cards, ring mat card, whatever. Do you guys, a little bit off topic, anybody have a favorite wrestling ring mat card? Because I know I do.
Not a ring mat, but my favorite is the Hogan ringside rarity, because it's the T-shirt. I mean, of course, it's Hogan, but it's the first.
But outside of shirts, I'm talking about ring mat cards. Mat cards. Because they're all pretty generic. They're all pretty little squares, this, that, and the other kind of thing. I mean, I'm expecting someone to say the off the mat graph autograph cards or something like that.
I have a whole set of mat cards that I'm a fan of, and probably something out of the set I'm going to mention is probably going to be where yours come from. The on-card autograph, or the on-mat autograph cards from TNA Glory 2013.
Those are awesome.
They released a whole set of ring mats that were supersized. They weren't just a little small thing. They were supersized, and the wrestler actually signed that card. And I'm pretty sure Tony's going to name one of them because Kurt Angle signed that set.
Yeah, he sure did. I bit the bullet on that one. I bought that one.
There you go.
I bought that one number to 10. I bought that one too. Yeah. I like the Fleer one where it has the image on there from the Fleer aggression set.
Yes, I got a couple of that.
Where they actually had like, an image of Brock Lesnar on the actual ring mat kind of thing. They put it was really cool.
Mine is an Austin one that has blood on it.
Yes,
had a little
that's
blood
cool.
stain on it.
With the when Fleer went under and they sent me that thank you for not bitching at us all the time package, which is essentially what it was. She sent me the Hurricane Mask card. She sent me a Farouk knee brace, and she sent me a Triple H off the mat autograph card, which was just drenched in blood. It was
nice.
I like those cards too. I think they're pretty awesome. But
you guys are going to have to help me with this because I'm looking for a picture and I cannot find it. It's one of the Fleers and it's die cut on the top, and I believe it's Hogan and Rock from one of the WrestleManias.
Is it die cut in the top or the bottom?
I thought it was the top.
Okay,
but it's the WrestleMania that their match.
There's two other pairings too. I know what you're talking
about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. As well.
I found one on Mercari for like $20, and I was like, I've got
Raw
to have
versus
this.
SmackDown, I think, or something like that, or Raw versus SmackDown set.
Yeah, and it's like what Brett said. I remember that match specifically, and I was like, this is one of the coolest builds of the two biggest stars potentially in professional wrestling history. So, like he said, with the Bailey and Sasha, which I actually have both of those too. That's my favorite one.
Nice. Just going off topic.
As far as my opinion on the AEW stuff, you guys know I love sealed wax, so I'm just going to sit on this stuff for a while. I think I'm going to open one box because it's easy, good content, and it's just fun. But another thing I may actually look into doing if I'm wanting to get some more of these cards is box breaks, because I think that may be a cheaper way to get into some of this stuff. And we haven't talked about it yet, but me and Tony have something really exciting, good opportunity planned for us and it's not on either of our platforms. I'll just leave it at that. It's for someone else. So
are we allowed to even talk about that yet?
Probably, but we're not going to yet. It's a teaser. All right. But I'm with Brett. Like, there's specific cards I'm going to be looking for. I don't know what yet. I haven't decided, but that's what I do in all of these sets that come out, because I'm not a set collector, except for like, you know, 1 or 2 random vintage sets I may hang on to as a complete and not break it up. But certain autos or parallels, it's all specific talent, because I love AEW as a whole, but it's like, if you transplanted me back to Attitude Era, I like everybody on every roster, but I didn't collect everybody on every roster. I just wanted certain things for certain different reasons, whether it's high end because I think it's going to be in quote investment, or because it's somebody that I don't care what it's worth. I just like the talent. So I want all the cards. I want to be like a super collector of them. So that's just kind of what I'm going to have to look at. But definitely like Baker Auto, that's the first one that comes to mind if that's on the checklist.
And I'll be curious on with the AEW cards. You know, we don't. I please God forbid us getting into the rookie card conversation on this episode.
Can't have a conversation without it.
I'm curious what the market goes and looks at with this set, if there will be that, like, I'm thinking about like a Jungle Boy or a Darby Allin. I know there's other cards of those guys that exist, but like, will the market respond to those guys as their rookie cards? That's what I'm curious about. That
goes back to what I said earlier about that reply that I got from that guy. That's like, I want the AEW product. I don't like those specific people. And I've seen it from numerous people. They wanted the first AEW product, anything branded AEW. They didn't care about that they had cards in other sets, which is interesting to me, but maybe this is a new kind of group that's being ushered into the cards, which is great. I mean, it's fine, but
for me, out of this set, I'm looking for, like you, Britt Baker, MJF, Sammy Guevara, and Kenny Omega. I mean, those are 4. I'd really like to try to pull something really good from them. Kenny Omega, as much as everybody's going to be chasing his stuff in this because he's so popular, I still have his 2011. There you go. Check it out. I've got his 2011 Japanese BBM from the Legend of the Champion set. Now that's a sweet looking Kenny card, and he looks so like a kid. I have his 2015 IPW, or was it IPW card. So Kenny Omega, again, has been around longer than people realize. We got all these people that everybody thinks are like overnight sensations. They're like 15-year overnight sensations. They've worked their way. They've been through the mill, and they have cards out there. But just the fact that it's now going to be a branded AEW piece, I think that's going to make a world of difference, and it's going to spark people's interest. Like, wow, I like this Kenny card. What else does he have? Let's go do some research. Let's get a hold of Chuckster and find out what sets he's had.
I think, didn't somebody on Discord recently talk about something like that? About like, is this someone so-and-so's first card? I can't remember the Discord channel. Someone asked. I think it was what's his nuts, who just lost the NWA title.
Oh, Nick Aldis.
Yeah, they're looking for his card. So I go, is this his first card? It was like a TNA card, I think it was. Like that. Yeah. So like, oh yeah, it is. I think it's going to cause some interest. So in the AEW set, one, it's going to bring I think it already is bringing a whole lot of non-card collectors into wanting to buy it. I really do. I think it is.
I'd love to hear from you guys. I'm curious on wrestler in the set. Who do you think, like, whose cards generally parallels everything? Who do you think let's just say you put up a 24-hour auction on eBay, you got one of the cards, like, whose cards do you think are going to end with the highest sale price? I'd love to hear everyone's perspective.
Well, I mean, I'm not someone who watches the product at all. I don't watch any wrestling, to be honest with you, to be totally transparent. But it sounds like you guys all are Britt Baker fans. So might be commanding.
That's my pick.
And MJF seems to be a really close second.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think this girl was signed with AEW when they first started these cards. I don't think she's going to make it. But I would have to go with Thunder Rosa. Yeah. She's signed, but I don't think she was signed when these cards started. So I don't think she's going to make it in the set. I would pick her over
Speaking
Britt
of all that stuff and who's going to be in and not in the set, did we not just see some CM Punk sticker cards stickers being signed? Then someone just posted sheet of them. And then someone just posted pictures, like a whole freaking roster of people signing stickers.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, what
Don
do you guys
Callis, I think I saw in that.
what do you guys think that's all about? You think it's going to be redemption stuff? Is that going to be for a different
E-packs?
release?
Are they
Maybe
gearing up
e-pack.
for season 2 or set 2 already? Like, who knows?
Yeah, which I mean, it's all sticker, which already is a huge disappointment to me. But
Yeah.
Well, there's
I don't
going to be some on cards because they got a series of autographs from what I can tell called On the Dotted Line,
Mhm.
which are
Right.
really
yeah,
really
that,
high
those
odds to pull. And it
Dean
looks like
Ambrose
they're gonna
signed
be one
cards?
card. Yeah, huh?
DA.
Those Dean Ambrose signed cards.
But I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be a more. I think they're going to be more of an on card. They just look like they are. I just don't think they're going to put a set out called "Sign on the Dotted Line" and then put a sticker on there. Yeah, I think.
I agree.
And to answer that question, I think it would be anything that's going to be an on card. I think is going to be hold a better value than the sticker stuff.
That's what I'm holding out for. AEW Upper Deck Exquisite and get that Orange Cassidy RPA with the jean jacket in there with the
Nice.
on-card auto.
Yes.
Nice. That'd be
All
great.
right. I'll move into my topic, which is actually not my personal topic. I had a question presented to me on Instagram, HH_trading cards. Thanks for the content provided for us today. Thoughts on investing in current wrestling stars, given the fact of constant releases and switching within promotions. I mean, we've seen what's happened with WWE recently with all of the releases. Some of them, I can tell you firsthand, Malachi, we'll call him Malachi Black now, his cards instantly went up from what I saw them at to what they are now once he got signed to AEW. I haven't checked on some of the other names, but then you've got guys like Bray Wyatt who actually went down, even though we haven't seen him pop back up yet. Generally in sports cards, you kind of buy on the dip, as you know, but in wrestling, we don't know if they're actually coming back. There's just so much unknown. So I think we're all kind of on the same page that these indie sets and the very first AEW sets are going to be something to, quote, invest in if you want to do this from a monetary perspective. But what do you guys think about the current WWE or any other current promotions right now? Like, are you hesitant to buy their cards because of all these releases? Is WWE going to get sold to Disney? Who knows?
I'm going to buy them now because right now they're kind of really very affordable. I'd rather buy something affordable and just have it bomb than wait and say, oh my gosh, that guy he blew up and I passed on his stuff. You know,
hasn't Bray Wyatt stuff always been sort of undervalued as it is anyways, and now he's like below his already what I thought was undervalued. Like now he's like, that's like disgusting. Now he should be worth way more, man. I mean.
Well, something I have seen a lot in other sports. I don't follow other sports as much, but I know, like for instance, baseball, football. If somebody's retired and going on, sometimes their cards really increase in value because they're not around anymore. But I have noticed a lot of times when a wrestler disappears off of TV, people forget about them, and their cards go down in value as opposed to other sports cards, which goes up in value because that player is no longer around. I just think that's an interesting little parallel there.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Except for, like Brett said at the first of the show, where you've got record sales of Cena, Rock, Hogan, Undertaker, these guys in these newer sets. So very interesting dynamic. Brett, go ahead.
With the I've said this just on my show a lot, and I think for the modern product, for me, I find security in putting my money in the female talent, and the female talent as in Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Becky, those three, Bailey a little bit, but everyone's been so sour on WWE for so long, but the one shining moment over the past decade has been the women's revolution. Females are wrestling fans. I waited an hour outside of the AEW show All Out to get in, surrounded by females, talking about female wrestling, excited. And I just think about those individuals are and will forever be the faces of the women's revolution. So Charlotte Flair, name identity, Sasha Banks, potentially the greatest female talent of all time. Becky Lynch is the man, right? The Stone Cold. So I think for me, that's what interests me most, is investing in the female talent on the WWE side.
I find
I
it funny.
agree on Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair is just such a pro. I mean, anything she touches turns to gold. And that match that her and Becky Lynch had that at the Revolution or the Evolution pay-per-view they had a few years ago, that all-out match, that just cemented both of them in history as far as I'm concerned. And another female wrestler who I don't think is the best wrestler in the world, but for entertainment purposes, her stuff is going through the roof, and that's Alexa Bliss.
I was gonna say,
I mean, she's fun to watch. She's entertaining, and she's talented, but she's not a Becky Lynch or a Charlotte talented, but she just got that it factor, and her stuff is just blowing up. Her stuff is just crazy right now.
She has a cult following of dudes who love Alexa Bliss and want anything Alexa Bliss related. And I agree. Her stuff sells just higher than anybody because I think her following is so strong.
Yes.
Tony?
That's what I was just going to say. I mentioned he just did basically the 4 horsewomen like that, and no Alexa Bliss, yet she outsells all of them on everything just about. That's all I have to say about that.
I'm with you guys. Like those names that were mentioned. I also think you can throw the tippy top guys in there that are kind of transcending into pop culture. The Miz a little bit. I hate the guy, but I mean, if you want to look at him, like he has like turned the channel heat with me. He's like the modern day like Jeff Jarrett, like back in the 90s. I just want to change the channel because I don't need his Chippendale outfit. But besides, okay. Sorry, getting off the rails. Tony, you're supposed to bring me back on the rails.
No, I'm enjoying this.
Okay. Roman Reigns, of course, and The Miz. Then there's like these little pockets of talent. And I'm going to talk about Karrion Kross. You guys know I'm a huge player. I don't care what he does. Like, I followed his career when he was in Impact, when he was in AAA. And then when he finally got cards, I was like, all right, this is it. This is the guy that's attaching me outside of the women we mentioned to watching modern wrestling. And of course, he debuts on Raw, and he looks like he's like a modern day knockoff of Demolition out of the Road Warrior movie or something like that. And everybody's like, "Oh, this guy's career's dead." And I was like, "I don't care. Like, I don't really." I paid quite a bit for that 1-of-1 superfractor of his to complete the rainbow, and like if it goes to zero, it goes to zero. As much as I like to talk about like money and finance with cards, there's also part of my collection that I just don't care. Like, I just want the cards, and that's what it's all about. So I think, if you're looking at modern WWE stuff, like balance it out, like buy the GOATs in the women's division, buy some Roman Reigns. But then if you really like, I don't know, Shorty G, then like buy all of his cards. Like, who cares?
Yeah, I think with Cross, there's always the, it's just wrestling fans, right? Everyone always just wants to dump on everything that happens all the time. And that's what we're seeing with, Cross and his booking or whatever. For me, it's like, just let it breathe, let it play out. He's someone they obviously are invested in at some level. Should they have given him a couple losses up front? Probably not, but I think that they're going to invest time and energy in him. And one guy I'll just mention, and Chuckster, I know you're a fan of him. I just got to say, if a guy that I would want to be putting my money in just because I believe in him, and Raw is tough sometimes, but he's always entertaining me, and that's Riddle. Matt Riddle is just
awesome.
Fire.
Yeah.
He's just entertaining every weekend, and his in-ring work is fantastic.
It is. When I first saw him, I thought, man, what is this? All I could had a flashback to Fast Times at Ridgemont High as Piccoli rolling out of the van.
That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, and when I just kind of put that aside and watched his in-ring work, it was just amazing. And he's one of those rare barefoot wrestlers that I really like. He's got that stoner about him, but I mean, I'm sure maybe it's an act. I don't know, but
no, not an act, not a gimmick.
He's just really entertaining, and the thing he's doing right now with Randy Orton and the RK Bro, that just cracks me.
Randy Orton.
Yeah,
that's another guy that I didn't mention. That that his Fleer stuff is pretty hot. His modern parallel stuff, like that's another guy that you could pretty feel safe in buying.
Yep.
Oh yeah. He's I think he's a lifer in WWE, and he's got his career, and I think he's given that rub to Riddle right now. I mean, Riddle's going to be a future star, and by hanging out with Randy and working this program with Randy, I think that's going to move him up to another level.
And that's another guy that's got, I believe, cards in one of the indie sets before he got to WWE, and then I know he's got UFC cards when he fought in UFC. So,
Yes.
you know, the interesting parallels of cards post and pre-career never end.
You got Brock Lesnar autos in the new UFC Select set,
Yeah.
so it's just like it's almost hard to keep track of at times.
There's another guy, Brock Lesnar. I mean, I think he's a surefire Hall of Famer because he's transcended into pop culture in multiple sports now, professional sports. So, all right, anything else you guys want to talk about today that we haven't covered as far as modern cards, AEW, anything like that?
I just like my feedback would be just we've obviously mentioned a lot and talked a lot. Like I speak for, I think you all is just trying to educate, like this is what's out there, this is what's possible. And at the end of the day, like buy what makes you happy. If you have a connection based on nostalgia or a connection with a modern performer, like buy their cards. Who cares what everyone else is doing? That's always my theory.
I love these roundtables
like
to get to talk about different things like that. I love it.
Yeah, I don't buy for an investment purpose. I buy because I enjoy it. I just like having something and finding something that somebody else hasn't found. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that existed. Well, yeah, it does. Here's what it looks like. You know, I can supply that information. Tony will probably tell you, I've been sending a ton of scans to him lately for the site.
I've got 58 emails you sent me this weekend.
Yeah, wow. He's got just about all the indie sets that I own scans of. You know, all the PWG and all the GCW stuff. I sent him all that stuff. So, you know, I figured once the site starts putting picks up on, he's got all those indies now to get those out in front of people.
The work never ends.
Yeah,
it really does. I got to hire a team.
But
never know. Maybe one of these days.
Collecting and seeing all those stars before they were stars. That to me has just been fun. And like I said, I'm not in it for money. I'm not in it for selling. I just want to share the info and share it with the world and show them, you know, hey, here's what's out there and here's what you can look for, and choose your poison, whatever you like, do it.
I fit somewhere in between all of you guys. I mean, you guys, we have investor people, we have people purists who like just collect for the fun of it. And I kind of get mixed in that because I used to be a purist guy who wanted to collect just to, to collect. I loved it. And that's what WTC was founded on. And over the years, I don't really care to collect anymore. You know, I'm just kind of jumping in on the bandwagon for the AEW stuff just to see kind of what it does and keep one back. I'm a little bit investing, a little bit of collecting, and I'm all just about like just gathering the knowledge and picking Zhan's brain and picking Brett's brain and picking Chuckster's brain and then putting it all up there on the website so people who are getting into the hobby and collecting have a place to go to actually go educate themselves. And that's kind of what I collect knowledge. That's what it is.
Except for that Kurt Angle collection. You're welcome.
That's not Kurt Angle collection. Forget it. Yeah. All right. And I have to put the brakes in that too, because I'm like, I shouldn't be spending money that I'm not selling it anything right now to fund that. And I don't want to spend my personal money on those cards.
Yep.
So if there's something I have learned over this time, especially since meeting Zhan, is I'm not going to invest my personal money from like my booking business or whatever else kind of thing. I'm only going to do it when I flip stuff and take that money and buy what I want. So
it sounds like you're following the 3 I's there, Tony. Intensity, integrity, and intelligence.
Yes.
And I suck.
All right, we can't top that. We're going to close it out. Brett, let everybody know where they can find you. Talk about Stacking Slabs a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
The
Zhan.
best.
You can check out Stacking Slabs wherever you listen to find audio content like this show. I release a show on Wednesdays and then have someone on Fridays. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Stacking Slabs.
Chuckster.
Chuckster's only on Twitter right now at Chuckster. Just search Chuckster and I'll pop up. I post just about any time. I have no set time. Anything goes up. When the mood strikes me, I'm on there. Message me if you have any questions. I'll be glad to do my best to help you out.
I do have a request for you. You need
Okay.
to find that picture that you had on Tony's show last week or week before, where it was actually the picture of you with the Chuckster, the drawing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
Okay.
needs to be your profile picture. Just do it.
I'll do that.
All right. Tony, I don't know where people can find you at.
I'm underground, man. I'm totally off the grid. 100% off the grid, man.
Don't send Tony questions. We've
Don't send me
established
questions.
this.
Yeah, just send them all to Zhan. He can answer that stuff, or Chuckster, or everything that you can want to know about wrestling card for me is on wrestlingtradingcards.com. Everything's there.
And all my stuff is Wrestling with Cards, YouTube, podcast, MySpace, all of that fun stuff. Guys, thanks for coming on. The community has spoken. They love these roundtable episodes, and I think it's awesome to get different perspectives from everybody in the hobby. So thank you guys for listening today. Hit subscribe. Please share with a friend. More specifically, share with a wrestling fan. Let's get more people collecting wrestling cards. Sure, you can go buy figures, you can go buy shirts, but nothing replicates wrestling cards, in my opinion. Thanks for listening. Share it with a friend. See you guys.
Wow.
See ya.